Hey, good morning or afternoon, everyone. This is Mark Hamlin here, and today I'm going to take you through some of the AI capabilities that we're developing here at InsightWorks for Business Central to help you sort of improve efficiencies and just to look cool around friends and family when you show them what's possible. So a little bit on how we use AI internally. So we do, these are the three, broad ways that InsightWorks is using AI. So the first one, internally, we're using, the Copilot for VS Code, and we're using chat to generate documents and things like that, and large language model like a chatbot type of thing for the knowledge base, which is upcoming. So all of these things internally to help improve how we work and how we interact with customers. Then when we get to our products, what we do is we use AI sort of as a parser. It'll go in, you can talk to it and things like that. It'll, sort of figure out what you're trying to do, and then send that information into our existing code to actually do something. So that's a big part of how AI is used in Business Central as well. So if you look at the bank reconciliations and things like that, that's kind of what it's doing. You tell it what you want to do, and it goes in and uses the existing code in the system to do it. So we've got a lot of that. But then we also have sort of the true generative solution, where you can go in and feed it a whole bunch of information, and it'll intelligently figure out what's in that information you've sent it and provide you subject matter expert guidance on it. So for example, our upcoming Maintenance Manager product can do that. It can help you troubleshoot equipment problems and things like that using AI. So all of these things are what we're trying to do, and we're going to demo some of those today. Before I do that, I'll just for the sort of internal stuff and how we deal with customers. If you go to our website, there's a link there for supply chain satire. And these are a couple of examples from it. It's just a bunch of images. And these are generated by AI entirely. The joke, the image, everything was generated by AI. So just a kind of a fun example of how we're leveraging AI or how we're experimenting with AI. And these are posted on our website as well. All right, now as far as the products go, once we start getting into Business Central, this is kind of what we've started with using AI. So these have all been sort of out since earlier this year in one form or another, and we demonstrated some of these at the Directions Conference earlier this year as well. But I'll just run through these real quick, and then we'll jump in and have a look at how they work. So for Warehouse Insight, we have an AI app builder. So we've always had, an application designer, an application wizard within Warehouse Insight. We've now put an AI front end on that. So now you can just type in what you want or ask it what you want, and it'll actually build a full application for you, or a lookup list, or whatever you're asking for. And that is pretty cool. That's really the future of how we're going to be developing applications going forward, right? Is sort of the no code. We've always had low code, and the app wizard is kind of a no code solution. With the AI app builder, that becomes a no code solution. You can have somebody talk to the thing and it'll build an application. So we'll actually have a look at that in a sec. Packing slip receipt automation is another one where we're using what they call document intelligence in the Zero AI framework, where you can, from a handheld, take a photo of a packing slip or upload it. And what it'll do is it'll pull out what the vendor claims to have sent, including lot numbers, serial numbers, all those sorts of things, and allow you to print barcode labels based on that packing slip, or just update the quantity to receive on that receipt. So kind of cool. If you're receiving a bunch of stuff and the vendor doesn't label it for you, you can take a photo of that packing slip or upload it, and based on what they claim to have sent, including lot numbers and everything else, we can print out labels for you, right? So that's kind of neat. On the dynamic ship side, the invoice reconciliation, so on the outbound side, common problem. We're shipping a whole bunch of stuff. You get a 30-page invoice from FedEx or UPS or whatever, and you don't know, are you being charged the appropriate amount based on what you were quoted? Well, this allows us to upload that invoice, and it'll do that reconciliation and tell you if you're paying too much for your shipping based on what you were quoted for it. Okay? On the quality inspector, and this a lot of the stuff in Quality Inspector is being released for 6 months now, as far as the AI side of things. And we do the same thing there. We can import documents and read information out of it to either generate tests or update tests, things like that. We can also do hands-free data capture. I like to call that the dental assistant mode, where if you go to the dentist, they've got their fingers in your mouth and they just call out, what's going on, and somebody's sitting in a computer typing that in. Well, now we can do that, except there's nobody sitting at the computer typing it in. It's just AI understanding what you're saying and entering those quality test parameters for you. Okay, so I've got some of that. I'll show you that as well. And then the product configurator, where, imagine going to a website, today you might go to Bing or Google or whatever, type in a description of what you're looking to buy and going through the results. Well, imagine going to an e-commerce site, typing a description of what you want to buy, and it actually builds it for you, builds out all the options and everything else and gives you a price and availability and all those sorts of things. Well, that's what this is giving us, right? We don't have that, we don't do the e-commerce side of it, of course. We've got that ability to now describe the type of product you want, and the system will build it for you on the back end. And finally, the maintenance manager, which if you're following InsightWorks, you probably don't know what the heck that is. Well, that's an upcoming product, so very, very close to having that available in AppSource. And that will also have the ability to upload, maintenance guides for equipment, right? So troubleshooting guides, maintenance guides, like the maintenance manuals, things like that, and then ask questions of the AI to help troubleshoot that equipment or generate your preventative maintenance schedules. So you can say, hey, give me a preventative maintenance schedule for this equipment from 6 months to 1 year, and the system will do it based on what it can find in those maintenance guides that you've uploaded to the system. Okay, so maintenance manager is coming up, and if you don't use the AI stuff, you can do traditional preventative maintenance schedules and things like that, and condition-based maintenance and a whole bunch of good stuff. I may show you a little preview of the maintenance manager today, but we may leave that for an upcoming webinar. All right, with that, enough talking. Let's see what this stuff looks like. So I'm going to go in here, and we're in Business Central, of course. And the first thing we're going to do, we'll run through sort of end to end. We're going to go in and create some demand, and then we're going to deal with that demand. So how do we create the demand? Well, we're going to go in, and I'm just going to grab a sales order here, and we're going to build a product using the configurator. Right? Let's wait for this to load. I'm just going to grab an existing sales order here. We'll open that up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, and I'm going to ask the configurator to build something for me. And Business Central is just taking its time here. All right, so what we're going to do is come in here, and now instead of selecting an existing product, I'm going to ask it for a custom product. And the way I do that is I go in and I go to our configurator, and you can use the standard BOM designer and manually do it. I'm going to do this design with AI, and let's give that a shot. So when it comes up, I can now type in the type of product I want. But to be fancy, I'm going to use voice. So I'm just going to start my my voice recognition thingy here. I want a blue bike that's a mountain bike, and it's large, and I want a bell with it, and I want a bottle holder. Okay, so it didn't recognize my voice 100% there. This should be bottle, but it'll get the general idea. And of course, I wasn't thinking when I said it, so it's kind of a weird prompt. I want a blue bike that's a mountain bike. Normally it'd say I want a blue mountain bike or whatever, but let's see what this thing does. So you hit generate, and it usually takes a few seconds, and it'll go out and it'll actually build that bike for me. Now, everything seems to be running a little slow today, so we'll see what happens here. There we go. So I've got a mountain bike that's large, I've got a bell, and I've got a bottle cage included on that bike. Now, there's a whole bunch of other stuff I'd need to set here because it didn't describe it, like the spokes and all that, to complete this. But it's taken everything I've asked for and built out a bike for me, right? Simple as that, right? And again, you can get as complex as you want. I could describe the type of shifters, spokes, all of that sort of thing. If I described that, it would have built that out for me automatically. So it's taking exactly what I'm saying and trying to figure it out. So I'll give you another quick example here, slightly different, but let's do, I want a maple table that's 4 feet by 4 feet with round legs. Come on. My voice doesn't want to go. No. I want a maple table that's 4 feet by 4 feet with round legs. All right. So the problem is when we're doing these webinars, the voice recognition thing is a little weird, but that's just the Windows voice recognition that's built in. But yeah, I just describe what I want. And you can imagine on a website, somebody going in there and just typing in, 4-foot table, round legs, maple, and it'll go in and it'll generate it for you. So there's my round legs, there's my 4 feet. It did the conversion to metric for me because that's what my units of measure are in here. And there's my table. And now I just have to, give it one other parameter, the size of the legs, and I've got my table. It builds out that bill of materials for me and everything else, and I'm ready to go. Okay. And it yelled at me because I didn't have a posting group set, but that's minor configuration. So that's how we can use, sort of voice or descriptive text to actually build out a product that we can then sell. All right. So now that we've built that product, which I didn't actually build, but now that we've built a product, we're going to want to, manufacture it. And part of that manufacturing process is going to be, scheduling and planning and all those sorts of things, which we have tools for, of course. But from an AI perspective, what I'm going to show you next is sort of on the quality inspection side. So when we go into, manufacture this, we're going to want to, do some inspections on it. Maybe when we ship it, we're going to do some inspections, those sorts of things. So I'm going to go into our quality inspection templates here. And we've got a bunch already defined. And I'm going to take this, we'll start with this one here, this 5S inspection. So that's just, inspecting your work area, right? So this is just an inspection type checklist that we're going to build out. And down here, if you know anything about our quality inspector, this is where we list the attributes, what we call the fields, that we want to capture information for. So to be able to create an inspection, I'll have to go through and list some things that I want to, have people inspect. So to do that, we just say add fields to this template. So I'm going to go in and, I can choose existing fields that we've defined, like existing attributes and things like that, or create a new one, or I can detect the fields from a picture. So that's slightly misleading. It's a document or a picture or whatever you like. And I can also do this, determine fields with artificial intelligence. So I'll show you, these are both AI. I'll show you the second one in a sec, but the first one we're going to use an image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, hit next, and we're going to load up a paper quality inspection document. So what I did was I just went online, I found this company CI Toolkit, and they've got a bunch of inspection things. And here's their inspection checklist for 5S. So I just grabbed this off the internet. But the idea behind this is if you have a paper-based quality regime, right, you're using paper out there, you can take that existing paper and turn that into electronic forms just by uploading it into Business Central. And then as you'll see in a moment, you can still have the people in the shop using those paper forms and handwriting stuff in, and you can suck that data into Business Central as well. Okay, so anyway, this is the document we're going to be using to generate the fields. So I'm going to open that up, and then what it does is it goes in, analyzes the document, and figures out what things you might be trying to capture on a form like that. It usually takes a few seconds. So here we are. It's pulled out all of these different things. It knows whether something's supposed to be text or a Boolean or a date, right? So we can take the date and maybe let's do a few of these. We'll do the auditor and the leader, maybe the work area, and a few of these things we want to spec. We could select it all, but I'll just grab a bunch of these guys. So we'll do I don't know. Doesn't really matter. I'll grab a bunch. We'll just bring a bunch of these guys in, and away we go. Right. So I could select them all, but I'm not going to bother. All right, so I've got a few of these guys in here, and we hit finish. And what it does is it generates basically that entry forming here. So now if I want to actually execute this test, I can go in and I can create a new inspection that includes sort of all of these things that I want to capture. And of course, I can rename them and do all that kind of stuff if I like, and away we go. Now, let's just actually create a test real quick so we can see what that does. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a test on a work center. And Quality Inspector, you can create tests on anything you like in the system. Custom tables, built-in tables, production orders, purchase orders, assembly orders. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to create one for a work center. So I come in here and we'll grab, say the assembly department is the work center I'm going to create the test for. I hit OK, and it generates my test. And now I can come in here and fill in all of this information. So here we're doing it in Business Central. You can do it on a phone or a tablet or in Shop Floor Insight, those sorts of things. But what I've done is I've got people handwriting this information on the existing forms, and they're handing me this information in. So I want to get that information off those handwritten forms without typing. So what I do is I come in here and I'm going to do a scan page with upload. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to grab this 5S scan. So this is, I'm just going to open that so you can see that as well. So this is one that I wrote my stuff in. I put a bunch of check boxes or check marks or X's, those sorts of things in here. This is, what somebody has written out on the shop floor. So we're going to use that to see what it brings in. So when I bring that in, it's going to analyze that. It's going to OCR everything that I've done, bring in the results, and allow me to verify that they're accurate, and then just going to set the values. So it's come in. And it's come in and it's found that, this 23 was a no, 24 was a no. It's brought in the leader, it's brought in the work area, all that kind of stuff that was on that page is brought in. I hit OK because I want to accept everything, and it's brought it all in automatically. So that's the beauty of that, right? Like you can stay with your paper-based systems, but still get all the benefits of having that information stored electronically as well. Okay, so that's a little bit on this. Now let me show you another way of getting that information into the test. So here's one where I've got a bunch of things that I have to check for when something's going out the door or incoming, right? When it's coming into the door, does everything look good? And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look up an existing test here. We've got one, and I'm going to start recording values for this existing test. And the way I'm going to do that, instead of uploading a document or manually typing things in, maybe I want to be hands-free. I'm sitting at a table here, maybe I've got calipers or something, my hands are busy. I just want to talk to the system to set these values. So again, I'm going to open up the set values with AI, and there's some prompts and things like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the voice, and hopefully this works well again. Width is 7 and height is 5. It's not working. Let's do it again. Width is 7 and height is 5 and length is 12 and shipping label is blurred. All right, so that again, now I can be hands-free, set all those things. It's going to try and understand what parameters I'm setting, and it's going to come in and say, yeah, I identified the width, the length, the label, all that kind of stuff. Wasn't quite sure if I meant the height or not, but so it brought it in, but it's not 100% sure, but I'm going to say, yes, that is what I said, but it falls out of my allowable value. So it's not allowing me to accept that number because it's outside of my range of 10 to 200. So maybe I want to, remeasure that, say it's 15, and then include it as 15. And then I keep it, and it sets all the values. So the beauty of that is, again, you can be hands-free. And where that's going is more of an interactive thing, where I can say width is 7, and it'll say back to me, width, I got width 7, is that what you meant? And set it that way so it's more of an interactive thing. But this is pretty cool, right? I can just talk to it, and it sets the values all automatically. So one last thing on the quality inspector side that I'll show you. So we're going to generate another inspection test entirely. We'll do, we'll start a new template, and we'll do, bike shipping, right? So I'll just type in a couple of things here, and I'm not going to set anything else. But now what we're going to do, same thing, we're going to generate the types of things that we need to inspect when we're shipping a bike or possibly receiving a bike or something like that. So again, we hit this add fields to template, and now I'm going to use this determine fields with artificial intelligence. So this is where it's actually using, true AI to sort of evaluate the types of data that we're sending it and come up, like reason out some values that we might need for this type of inspection. So the first thing I'm going to do, it's asking me for the item number, a type of bike that I might one day inspect. And so I'm just going to choose the first item in here, which is a bike. It has a bomb and a routing, all that kind of stuff. And now I can come in and say, it wants, okay, well, what type of test do you want for that bike? So I'm going to say shipping checklist for a bicycle. And I'm not going to talk this time because that thing is flaky on the webinar. So shipping checklist for a bicycle. There's the sample type of product that we might want to do the inspection for. We hit next, and it's sending all that information, the BOM, the description, the item details, everything out to the AI, and it's saying, hey, these are some of the things that you might want to inspect when you're doing that. Right, so some of these maybe don't make sense, like inventory count. Well, maybe you want to count, make sure you're shipping the right number of bikes or something like that. But again, now you can pick and choose. You can say, yeah, I want to see the wheel assembly, I want to see the chain assembly, I want to see, packaging is done, all of that kind of stuff, check for damage, maybe, all of those sorts of things, and generate my test based on that. Okay, so that's another use for that AI stuff that where it's actually reasoning out what we're asking it to do. All right, now I've built a product, like I built out my bike with the custom builder there, the configurator. I've done a bunch of inspections to make sure I can manufacture it properly and inspect it when it's coming in or going out. So I've got all that stuff done. Now I actually want to go out and use handheld devices to actually sort of ship that product out the door or pick it. So, Warehouse Insight obviously has a ton of applications in the system, right, for doing exactly that, picking product, shipping product, everything else. But one of the things it doesn't have is the ability to create new sales orders and things like that, from the device. Usually that's you create a quick override and you're able to do that. But I want to start from scratch and build my own custom sales order application. So there's a few ways you can do it. You can go right into the applications and build it from scratch, or what I can do is use my application wizard to build that application. And now there's a couple of ways you can use the application wizard. And this application wizard exists, it's existed for the last 3 or 4 years at least, where you can go in today, if you're running Warehouse Insight, build your own applications with it. Starting, as of a few months ago, you can also use this AI application wizard to generate it based on a description of the application. And I'm going to try and use voice one more time. Let's see if it goes. I want an application that allows me to select a sales order, then add or edit items on the sales order, period. And I don't want to scan bins or, that's good enough. All right. So we'll just say scan bins because I actually do want to, I was going to say I don't want to scan serial numbers, but I actually do want to scan serial numbers. So there's my description of the application. And we hit generate. And what it's going to do is the same thing. It's going to go in and it's going to figure out what we're trying to do. And now I can actually step through the wizard if I want, but we can see it's figured out, hey, yeah, you want to do sales order. It's come up with the name of the application, things like that. I could go next through this. See, it turned off the bin scanning. Since I didn't say I don't want item tracking, it defaults to allow me to do, serial numbers and lot numbers. But I could step through this and figure out what it's trying to do. But I'm just going to hit finish at this point. And what it'll do is it'll actually build those applications for me. So now it's built 2 applications. One's a lookup list and the other is the actual application. And if you want to, just back out of that, if you want to edit these, you can, right? I can go in here, hit design, and if I wanted to change the logic on these applications, I could. I could come into our application designer, and this has existed since day one as well. And it looks a bit complicated and scary, but it's not really, right? This is pretty simple stuff. If I want to add functionality into this, like maybe I want to allow people to scan, pallets like license plates. Like, hey, if they scan a pallet, I want to go in and then, ask for a number or ask for confirmation or get them to sign the screen or whatever I want to do. And that's how I can extend this application. So it's an actual full-fledged application that's being built sort of from scratch using that that application wizard. So what does that look like on the handheld? Well, let me show you the screen for my handheld. So there's the screen for my handheld. Let me just log in here. All right, so that's that guy. And what that actually looks like is, there it is in my hand. So there's the device. And you'll notice there's no sales order application on here. The one we just built isn't there. So what I do is I just go in and I say reload configuration, because I made a massive change to the configuration. I added a whole new application to my main menu there. And so when I reload it, we'll see it pop up, and there's my sales order management application. And of course, I can come in here and change the name and the icon and all that. I have full control. It's actually an application. And if I open that up, it's going to come up and it's going to list, the fields that it thought I needed. And one of them is document type. Well, we don't need document type. Let's see what I'm tapping here. There we go. We don't need document type because we know it's always sales orders, but if you wanted to have quotes and stuff in there as well, you could. But there's all my sales orders, and I can add or remove fields from within Business Central or here. And then I can come in and either double tap or use the choose button, or if you've got a scanner that has a physical keypad, I can do it from there. But I'm going to open up that sales order. Here's my sales order. It's smart enough to know these are probably the most likely things that you want to see on that. Let me just make that a little smaller so you can see the bottom here. So these are the items on that particular sales order. And now I want to scan something to add to that sales order, or scan something that I want to pick for that sales order. Now, of course, the picking and everything is already there. But if I wanted to add to the sales order, I can simply scan a barcode now to add to it. What I'll do is I've got this box here. I'm just going to scan that. That actually happens to be on the sales order. But I could manually come in, change quantities. But if I scan this particular barcode for this item, it's going to come up. It's going to show me a picture. That's a little wearable scanner. It brought in the serial number, everything automatically. And all I did was tell it, hey, I want an application that handles sales orders. And it built all of that out for me. And now I can customize the heck out of this. This has gone in. It's updated Business Central with that serial number, right? If I want to see all the serial numbers that I've scanned and everything, it's there. Everything that, you can do in Business Central for sales orders, I can now do in this application for the most part. Or I can customize this application to do whatever the heck I want it to do. Okay. Simple as that. And that's really the future of this, because even existing applications, right? If I'm in, receiving or something like that, and I want to extend this application, like I want to come in and, build out additional screens for this or whatever, I can use that application wizard to do it. If I want to say, add a menu item that lets me, see the, receipt history of an item or the sales history of an item or whatever, I can use the application wizard to build that screen, add a menu item in here to say, sales history or something like that, pop it up, and there it is. So we've gone from, that application designer, which is a low code thing, you don't have to write a lot of code or anything like that to get applications to work, to really being a no code solution in a lot of cases. All right. Now, while I'm here, let's talk about Smart Slip. That's the one I mentioned earlier, where I can come in here, I can take a photo of, a packing slip or upload it from a PDF or something like that. And just like you saw in the quality inspector, it's going to read the data off that packing slip and say, yeah, the vendors claimed they shipped 3 pieces of this. And you can see the way this must be handwritten, the unit of measure. It'll cross-reference the unit of measure properly to Business Central, but this is actually what it read in from the packing slip. I put a little accent on the E because that's how it read it in. But from here, I can actually go in and I can print barcodes, like barcode labels, for everything the vendor claimed they shipped, right? So a key problem, or a common problem when you're receiving is, they put the serial numbers or lot numbers on the packing slip, but there's no barcodes for those things. Well, now I can scan the packing slip in. I've got all the serial numbers. I print barcodes, slap them on the box, and scan them in, and I'm good to go, right? Or I can update the receiving document, which means it'll set the quantity to receive on the document, and I'm good to go, right? So anyway, that's another little use of AI. And by the way, that Smart Slip application that'll be in our add-on catalog. If you're not familiar with the add-on catalog, that's where we'll publish additional applications for Warehouse Insight that you can just click install. It'll install everything you need to run that application. Okay. So anyway, now that's the sort of the picking and the shipping, going through creating my own little sales order application. And earlier I did a requisition worksheet application as well with the application wizard, where it lets me choose a batch to use, and then I can open up that batch and scan items, onto that batch and everything else, right? So a lot of different applications that you can build with that application wizard, right? To come in here and record what you're doing out on the shop floor. So if Warehouse Insight doesn't have the specific application you want, like maybe a special type of job journal application or requisition worksheet or whatever, now you can just talk to the thing and build it out. All right, so good. We've picked it, we've shipped it, everything else, it's all good. Next thing we're going to do is go in, and after we've shipped it with Dynamic Ship, right? Because that's what you want to use. Dynamic Ship is going to get you all your freight quotes, all your, either LTL or parcel shipping quotes. It's going to generate your shipping labels, your bills of lading, all that kind of stuff, and things are going to go out the door. And everybody's going to be very happy that it all went out, so seamlessly. Now AP gets their the carrier's invoice a month later, right? They get their UPS invoice, and the thing is 50 pages long, and it's $10,000, and they don't know if they're being overcharged or not. Maybe you could do a report to show at a high level what was quoted versus what you're being charged, but then going to try and figure out where you were overcharged is an impossible task. So people are potentially overpaying by thousands of dollars a month, depending on their volume, because maybe they don't have, well, actually, I'll give you an example. This is a real example. People are being overcharged, a customer is being overcharged from what they expected to pay on almost every single shipment. And the reason is they had a package template they defined that was actually a different dimension. They had it as a couple inches shorter than it actually was, and they were getting surcharged on every shipment because it wasn't the right size that they told UPS it was. And so that's a problem, because now they're basing their shipping charges to the customer on what they're paying to UPS, and it was always wrong. And they had really very little way of knowing. So how do we deal with something like that? Well, we go into this invoice reconciliation tool from Dynamic Ship, or in Dynamic Ship. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new reconciliation here. And what we're going to do is, I mean, you can type it all in manually, but who would want to do that? We're going to import the invoice, and I'm going to, well, I'll do the full import. There's a quick import that, just brings it in and you're done. I'll do the full one. So when we go to that import invoice, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to look at the UPS invoice that we're about to analyze. So this UPS invoice, this is a real UPS invoice. The only thing that's changed is anything that's sort of identifying information, so the tracking numbers and all that. But this is what a UPS invoice looks like, right? So you've got, 3 lines of stuff here. You've got surcharges. You've got all of this kind of stuff ending up with a total here, right? And the incentive credit, that's the discount, all that kind of stuff. So this is a fairly complex invoice, but this is what we're going to try and import and reconcile. And again, trying to do this manually is impossible. You're going to go by tracking number to see if this number matches what you quoted. That's not possible. So anyway, we're going to open up that invoice, and it's going to take a sec. And if it's a 30-page invoice, it might take a few minutes to do this. This is a whatever it was, a 10-page invoice or something. So it takes 30 seconds or so to do it. And it's busy analyzing it. And since I didn't do the quick import, we're going to have the opportunity just to quickly review what it's done. So it's brought in the dates, like this is what it's trying to bring in, and it's telling us where it's going to put it. If you do the quick import, you don't see this, but you can decide to include or exclude any of this information if you like. So I'm just going to hit OK because I trust the system. And so what it's done is it's pulled out, sort of the account number, the invoice number, the date, all of this kind of stuff, the total. And down here, it's giving us our tracking number by tracking number reconciliation. So if I sort by the variance here, I can see exactly where we're being overcharged and where we've actually done better than what we expected. So I compare this total to my quota costs, and maybe I want to move that side by side or whatever. We can see what we're actually overpaying on all of these shipments, right? So this is a great tool for actually validating what you're being charged by UPS actually matches what you were quoted. And this will work with any carrier, right? We've got a model for UPS and one for FedEx. It's a little more set up because you have to go in and, you can't just, it doesn't just work immediately out of the box. If you've got a carrier with a complex invoice, you have to go in and point at the different fields and say, hey, this is where the surcharge lives, this is where the total lives, that sort of thing. Half an hour or whatever it is to build a model of that invoice, and then it'll suck in just like I showed you. And then the last little nicety on this, since we have all the totals and everything already, you can just, I'll also mention you can come in and, attaches the invoice and everything like that using Doc Extender, by the way. So if Doc Extender was set up to do SharePoint, this invoice would go to SharePoint. But the one little nicety on here, I can hit create purchase invoice, and it'll go in and it'll actually, it knows the vendor that's set up for this, like it knows the carrier and everything else. So it knows which vendor to use, it knows the total, and it'll generate a purchase invoice for me. So just, a little one-click helper function there to kind of generate that invoice. And again, I just used a dummy vendor, but that'd be your UPS vendor and everything else, and away you go. Okay, all right, so that's the invoice reconciliation. And I said I might show you a little bit of the maintenance manager and how that works with AI, but I'm going to skip that for today. We're going to leave all the maintenance manager stuff for a future webinar where you can sort of see the full capabilities of our asset maintenance product that's upcoming. But again, what that'll allow you to do is upload those maintenance guides, ask questions of the AI, and it'll get the information out of the maintenance guide, summarize it for you, generate preventative maintenance schedules for you, those sorts of things. All right, now after all that, let's talk a little bit about sort of cost and availability. So we don't charge anything for any of this stuff. So all that stuff you saw, there's no cost for from a software perspective. If you want to try this stuff now, like for example, Quality Inspector has most of what you saw already built in. It was released months ago, so that's actually there. But you'd have to set up your own Azure AI account, and you'd have to bear the costs of what you're using that AI for, and that can vary widely depending on how you're using it. But Microsoft does have a program. We're involved in that now in the very, very early stages, where they're actually going to cover all those AI costs for you. So if you install an approved add-on like ours, Microsoft will cover those AI costs. So effectively, you'll be able to install any of the stuff I showed you and use it without any cost. The only costs might be, for some of this, there's Azure Blob Storage. Microsoft likely isn't covering the cost of that. So if you want to upload, maintenance guides or, create big models for invoices, things like that, there may be a slight cost for that to maintain that. And if there's implementation costs, right? So if we jump in and throw in the invoice reconciliation tool, it might be a few hours of our time to get it set up, train you up, build a model, whatever we need to do to get you up and running on that. But overall, basically very low cost, effectively free for the most part on most of those things that you saw there. As soon as Microsoft has fully published their program to cover those AI costs. But if you want to try it now, you can. It's just, you have to sign up for that Azure AI account and everything else. So can you try it now? You can. We're publishing sort of the beta stuff sort of on request and for a limited number of people at a time to get feedback. So invoice reconciliation has been a big ask from a lot of people. Everybody wants that. But if you want to try any of the others, let us know. We'll see if we have room to fit you in, and we can deploy it, and you can test the heck out of it if you like, or, well, not just test it, but actually get value out of all that stuff immediately. And what I've shown you, by the way, 6 or 7 things that we've done so far, that's the tip of the iceberg. Our intent is to leverage that AI stuff, especially since, there won't be any cost for using it, leverage that AI stuff throughout the product line, in the manufacturing side, everywhere, to provide practical benefits to the customers, right? So, AI does cool stuff, but is it really that practical? Like the marketing text they had in Business Central, That's great. It actually is useful, but is it really a day-to-day practical thing that's going to make or break your decision to go to Business Central? Probably not. Some of this stuff may be, right? Like there are things in here that are going to improve your life substantially. And again, tip of the iceberg, we're going to keep extending that to do these practical enhancements using AI to extend the capabilities of the solution. Now, if you do want to learn more about how we're doing that and what we're doing, we do have an event coming up, September 25th and 6th this year. It's a little over half full already as far as registrations. It will be in Toronto, Canada. You can register at insightworks.events. One of the cool things, I think, we're going to the Major League Baseball game. It's Blue Jays versus Red Sox as the event. But more importantly, you're going to learn all about the products, a deep dive on it, and AI is going to be definitely a part of that as well. All right. Now, if you do have any questions on any of the products I've mentioned, whether it's AI related or not, you can go to the website, iwx.app, or dmsiworks.com. There's a chat box there. You can chat with us. You can request additional information. If you go to the support link on there, it'll take you to our knowledge base to give you more detail about any of the products from a more technical perspective. All right. So I hope everybody has a good rest of the week, and I hope we see you or talk to you again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more great content, and remember to hit that bell icon to stay updated. See you in the next video.